November's election is months away, but the topics that are going to be on the table for voters to decide who they're wanting to go to Congress on their behalf are going to be mounting up more and more. Of course, we've heard a lot of talk about abortion or gun control from the Democrats. Not much by way of how to tackle economic pressures like historic inflation, the prospects that we're already in a recession, let alone what's going on with foreign policy. So to talk about some of those issues and more, let's talk with the Republican candidate for the 13th Congressional District. Regan Deering joins us here with Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY. Springfield's News and Talk. Regan, thanks for taking time with us this morning. How you doing?
Great. Good morning to you, Greg, and your listeners as well. Happy for some sunshine this morning instead of a deluge of rain.
And we're going to see some heat as well. Hey, you were out with some of the National Night Out events last night. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we had a great opportunity to head over to Springfield in your neck of the woods and join law enforcement and the fire department and some city officials in one of the Springfield neighborhoods, having a good time with the kids, just increasing community relations and having a great time.
Other than that event, how's the campaigning been going on so far now that, the primary's been certified, you're the winner, and you're going to be going up against Nikki Baczynski as the Democrat?
Yeah, it does feel good to come out of a tough primary. I think that helped prepare me for, being ready for meeting voters where they are come this November and looking at us on the ballot as a choice. And we've been out and about a lot of places. This district is pretty wide and long as far as going from Champaign-Urbana through Springfield down to the Metro East. So one of my favorite parts of being on the campaign trail is meeting voters and talking about what their concerns are. And for sure, it feels like our government's not working for us these days. So there's lots of issues top of mind, like you mentioned, record high inflation, and that's hurting family budgets between gas and groceries and energy bills.
Imagine small businesses and large businesses alike are being impacted by supply chain issues and inflation. So we've heard a lot of talk from Democrats about abortion rights, about gun control, but now they have something that I don't know if it's a reaction to some of the criticism of people saying seems kind of tone deaf, that they're not talking about historic inflation or the possibility of being in recession. But now we have this so-called Inflation Reduction Act that a Democrat one page on this talks about the total revenue raised being $739 billion with a 15% corporate minimum tax, bringing in $313 billion, prescription drug pricing reform $288 billion, IRS tax enforcement $124 billion, billions here, billions there. Is this actually a Inflation Reduction Act, or what's going on here from your perspective with this proposal?
Well, the name is very catchy and is certainly a gimmick because Democrats are realizing that inflation is top of mind for voters come November, and they're not providing any immediate relief. So, while it's fun to spend billions of dollars in something called the Inflation Reduction Act, it's definitely not going to reduce inflation. It's just another tax and spend. Biden was talking about not raising taxes on families making less than $400,000 a year, and they're going to be the hardest hit. Our middle-class families, even making less than $200,000, are going to be taxed, and they are not going to see any immediate relief. I mean, I think experts are even talking about relief coming as late as 2024. And families are hurting right now. Their energy bills are showing up in their mailboxes. We were hearing here in Illinois $30 to $40 increases on your bills, and I've been talking to voters who've seen double. So it's even worse than they predicted. And we're not able, to pay those fines right now, and we're not going to be swayed by a fancy named bill.
So when it comes to the issue of inflation, of the possibility of a recession, if you were elected into Congress and your fellow Republicans across the country take over the U.S. House, and who knows if they capture the Senate or not, different pollsters say different things, but how would you approach addressing some of these major costs that citizens are having to incur right now?
Well, it definitely needs to be stopping the spend. We can't just continue to throw money at this. We need adults in the room that are talking about immediate relief. but also long-term solutions, based on solid economic principles. So we are going to have to try and turn some of this around. You mentioned small businesses earlier. One of the big ways that we can help is decreasing regulations. Our businesses need to be able to, innovate and invest and continue to produce and manufacture things right here in Illinois and in the U.S. so that we're not reliant on these external pressures from foreign countries, and we are taking care of ourselves. The energy sector is a huge part of this conversation, and, this Inflation Reduction Act is going to create more spending for climate, and energy progress. And that sounds great, and they love to talk about climate change. We're a responsible country when it comes to environmental issues, but we can't just take these goals and keep moving the end line, and as a result, Americans are suffering.
Yeah, it looks like they want to spend around $370 billion on energy security and climate change. What can we do about those who have concerns of what they call climate change? Is that an issue that needs to be addressed, and how do we address that?
Well, we have been addressing climate change, and I think we've been having reasonable solutions, but we can't go all in on reducing American energy independence and going directly to, renewable energies, for example. We have to work on a transition. We've got families that are relying on jobs in the fossil fuel industry, the oil and gas industry, good paying jobs. And we can't go automatically to a goal that's not likely, and therefore we're seeing those direct results.
We're talking with Regan Deering. She is a Republican running for the 13th Congressional District here in central Illinois, and the Inflation Reduction Act from the Democrats getting Regan's response to that particular issue. Something else that's been top of mind is Nancy Pelosi is in Taiwan. You've got the Russia-Ukraine conflict ongoing. When it comes to foreign policy in general, and we can drill down on these two other issues in particular with China and Russia. But what's your foreign policy? Some people, see America as being, the bastion of making sure that we have peace around the globe, including putting troops in places around the globe. Others want a non-interventionist foreign policy. Where do you line up on foreign policy?
Well, I think that we as Americans do need to continue to support democracy around the world. We have great allies. We have those that, are not allowing freedom in their country, and we do have a role to play. However, when you talk about becoming reliant on those countries when there's war, we need to take care of ourselves here at home. And a lot of that is driving the top-of-mind conversation about energy. We have an administration that seems to be full-on attack, as predicted, as Biden said, attack on the fossil fuel industry, and we got to be able to shore up those things here at home. And there are some immediate steps that we can take to go back, with opening up our pipelines, allowing for drilling and leases. And that is going to help create that American energy independence. We have great natural resources right here on our own soil, and we need to tap into those things. So I think Americans are feeling the pinch here at home. And while we are having global diplomacy issues and our elected officials are taking care of that, I think most of them are concerned about, renewing that buy American, manufacture American, right here at home and take care of ourselves first.
How big of a threat is China in the context of foreign policy and America being a leader in the free world?
Well, they're a huge threat. I mean, they're showing that in their response to Pelosi heading over to Taiwan. She's keeping up relationships there and talking about supporting Taiwan and their sovereignty. And China sees that as a threat. So it's never been more obvious that we have to protect ourselves here at home. We have to show strength. The Biden administration has made some missteps that are showing weakness, and they are capitalizing on that. So, something as far as, having that American energy independence, innovating here at home, producing things at home so that we don't become reliant on countries like China is a priority for sure.
Regan Deering, the Republican for the 13th Congressional District. If people want more information about you and your candidacy, where can they find it?
Well, we've got a website, Regan4Congress.com. We're continuing to meet voters where they are throughout the district. Our social media pages have schedules and places that we will be, so we would love to have the opportunity to talk with voters about their concerns and help them realize that we have a definite choice in November. I'd like to be somebody that's a representative for change, and I look forward to meeting more of our voters here in Illinois 13th.
Regan Deering, greatly appreciate your time this morning. She's the Republican running for the 13th Congressional District. I imagine we'll talk again several times before we get to the November election. So greatly appreciate you taking time with us.
Look forward to it. Thanks, Greg.
It is Springfield's Morning.